As Helm studied the faces of the gods, a small group of deities who had not been affected so traumatically by the summons surrounded him. The god of guardians tried to ignore the pleas of these gods, whose dignity apparently no longer mattered to them, as they whined and clawed at him for more information. "My home was destroyed. My temple in the plains was shattered." God after god repeated the complaint, but Helm was deaf to their words. "Ao has issued a summons. All will be made clear in time," Helm told each of them, but he soon grew tired of repeating himself and eventually warned the small group of gods away. Change was coming. Of that there could be no doubt, Helm concluded as he pondered the will of his immortal liege, Ao. Ao's will had been so great that he rose from the swirling mist of chaos at the beginning of time and set about to create a balance between the forces of law and chaos. From this balance came life, first with the creation of the gods in the heavens, then with the mortals in the realms. Ao, maker of all things, had chosen Helm to be his right hand, and Helm knew that it was the power of Ao that brought the gods to this place of madness and confusion. As Helm stood quietly in thought, Talos, god of storms, surged forward. "An end to the trickery, I say! If our Lord wishes to make a point, let him speak. Let his wisdom fill our bankrupt hearts and empty minds." Talos said wisdom with as much contempt as he could muster, but the others were not convinced. His fear was as evident as theirs. The challenge of Talos was not met, and all who stood within arm's reach of the god of storms moved away from him. In the silence that followed Talos's outburst, there was an answer more unnerving than any proclamation. In the silence was heard the finality of Ao's judgment. It was then that the gods understood that their fate, whatever it would be, had been sealed long before this summoning. That terrible silence filled the great hall, but it was soon shattered. "Keepers of the balance, I address you one and all." It was Ao's voice, and in that voice was heard the power of a being so great that the gods fell to their knees in response. Lord Bane alone managed to place only one knee on the Pantheon's cold floor. "Most noble was your heritage. Yours was the power to stave off the ever-present threat of imbalance between law and chaos, and yet you choose to act like children, resorting to petty thievery in your quest for power." Bane suddenly wondered if the being who had given the gods life long ago had called his creations to this place to undo his mistake and begin anew. "Extinction may be your future yet, Bane," Ao proclaimed, as if the Black Lord's thoughts had been spoken aloud. "But do not let it concern you, for that fate would be most merciful compared to what shall soon befall you and the other gods that betrayed my trust." It was Helm who then stepped forward. "Lord Ao, the tablets were in my keeping. Let it be—" "Silence, Helm, lest you suffer a fate such as theirs." Helm turned and faced the assemblage of gods. "You should know your crime, at least. The tablets of fate have been stolen." A beam of light erupted from the darkness and enveloped the god of guardians. Wisps of white flame encircled Helm's wrists and ankles, and he was lifted up an unknowable distance, almost beyond the senses of the other gods, who gasped as they watched. Helm, who had never been borne off his feet before, grit his teeth helplessly as he stared into a patch of darkness greater than any darkness ever seen. A darkness that lived and sought to consume, a darkness that was the anger of Lord Ao. "Stand with your fellows and not your liege, good Helm?" Through gritted teeth, the god responded, "Aye." Suddenly Helm was cast down, his descent too quick and too brutal to be tracked by the senses of the other gods. Bloodied and bruised by the impact, Helm struggled to rise and again face his lord, but the task was beyond him. His fellow gods made no move to help him, nor did they meet his imploring eyes as he fell, face down, to the stone floor of the Pantheon.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.